There is no way in the world where you don't win this going up against any deck, let alone Fire King, which I tailored this board to go up against. Little did I know. Last week, I don't remember which day it was exactly, but by the time you're watching this on YouTube, it was last week or a few days ago that I participated in a Kong's Cards Phantom Nightmare tournament. Now, besides not doing super well in the tournament in general, I decided that this would be a way for me to test out my new sort of like anti-Fire King build, which had a lot of like pretty convoluted stuff in it that are directly against that matchup. And this was the deck that I played. It also has a video on my channel, and I played a few weird-ish cards like Albaz the Ashen that protects targeting. I played Proskinian to deal with the princess in the graveyard, right? Because it can just snatch up monsters from the opponent's graveyard. And I played this card, which I think was like really promising, which was Mysterion the Dragon Crown, which if you don't know what it does, it's basically an honorary Cartesia fusion, but if a monster uses its activated effect to special summon itself or a monster with the same original type as it, you can target it after it's special summoned and banish all monsters from the field with the same type. This trades really well into like a populous effect, summoning itself, then you banish two pyro monsters that your opponent has. You can do this later as well. On paper, in theory, impactful against Fire King. So this is what I wanted to try. I was like, online tournament, free tournament, let's go and have fun. But one of the rounds of the tournament, when it was against a pretty well-known player, Jibriel. It's Jib_YGO over on Twitch. Very cool guy, another content creator, also pretty accomplished duelist. And one of the rounds was playing against him with Fire Kings, and I won the die roll, and I had everything going for me, and I managed to screw it up. I lost because I played really poorly, and this is exactly why I wanted to make a video about it, explaining why that happened and what I did wrong. So again, if you're watching this later on YouTube, make sure to come over to Twitch, because the folks here are getting a live presentation of everything that's going on here. Let's jump into the game and start breaking this down. Again, you can see this is Jib here, this is myself at the bottom, and I win the die roll, and I open a pretty solid hand. 2 Albaz, which already kind of sucks, but it's still good. And then Lubellion, Branded Fusion, and Aluber. Now, the first play I make here, and the first like decision, is to start with the Aluber to play around Droll. Because if I go Lubellion, which is the more logical play or the more optimal play, then I could lose to Droll, or at least I can lose the Aluber search. So there's no reason not to sequences like this. Now, I wanted to grab opening here, specifically because if I get ashed on this, I really have nothing, right? So I'm playing against around Ash so that at least I can grab Quem and then do something from there. I go for the Lubellion now that there's no Droll, Saronir, and then I activate Branded Fusion. First misplay of the day. The first mistake here was not activating Branded Opening in chain to the Branded Fusion, which is what you are 100% supposed to do in this scenario, because on resolution you'll be able to summon back the Cartesia, and in this case I'm not going to be able to do that. I do that a bit later though. I do this a little bit awkwardly. So I realized my mistake and I chain the opening here, so when the Lubellion is summoned, I can revive the Cartesia. Now I go for this, pitch Albaz, and mind you, right now all the Albazes are out of my deck. One is banished, one is in the hand, one's in the graveyard. Need to start shuffling back. And then I activate the effect of Quem. Another thing that I forgot, and granted, like my mental state at that point, I was really nervous because it was the beginning of the tournament, and I was also going up against Jib, and also it was the first time I was streaming a tournament. I had to manage like the setup. I was showing the stream, the spectator view, so you can't see my hand. So there was a lot of like technical stuff going on, and my head was like 60% in the game, and I was trying to focus really hard, but it was hard for me, and I only remembered to activate the second Quem effect of reviving the Cartesia, which is granted kind of all I needed, right? But yeah. Summon back the Cartesia, dump High Spirits with Saronir, right? So I can grab it to the hand at the end. And now I go for the Mirror Jade here, Lubellion, Branded Lost. And here, because I don't play Adlib, and I already have Albion in the grave, I decided to go for the Mysterion because I was 99% sure Jib is going to be playing Fire Kings. So I was like, hey, I literally have everything. And I summon this, and he's like, wait, what the hell is this? Let me read this for a second. And then he goes, dude, this is crazy. What is this card? Because it is. It's really good against Fire King. I'm sure he was worried about how that's going to interact with this board. At the Mercourier and phase, I do have branded and red targets, but I decide to go for bring this back, a lot of card advantage in the hand, and then Albion set Retribution, which gives me a little bit of a better turn 3, but also just negates the Snake Eye Sinful Spoils, the original Sinful Spoils, which if you negate it, it's not hard for them to play afterwards, but it's a thing that you want to negate. So I have a Banish. I have an Albaz that could potentially go into something like a Rindbrum or literally whatever, right? I have Mysterion. I have a Special Summon Negate, and I have a Monster Negate. There is no way in the world where you don't win this going up against any deck, let alone Fire King, which I tailored this board to go up against. Little did I know. Set this, and then he starts off with the Fire King. I'm not going to show his hand because I mean, okay, this is his hand. I did not know his hand, obviously, because I was playing against him. So we're not going to be dealing with what's in his hand, only what I saw. Fire King Island, I'm thinking here, he activates the effects, gets Populous, and gets Garunix. Now, at this point, I wasn't exactly sure how Kirin works, but Kirin can also special summon from the hand and pop. Let's see what he wants to chain block. I'm assuming he went chain 1, based on what he did, chain 1 pop, chain 2 Garunix. He declares the Garunix, I let it go, and then Kirin, and I negate the Kirin because I don't want to get popped. And he's got 4 cards in hand. I could have played a little bit better here around talents because I could have just held off on the Mercourier and just used the Branded Retribution here, right? The problem is that this negates the Kirin, but it does negate the Sinful Spoils. Honestly, there wasn't much that I could have done otherwise here. Possibly if I use this now, I don't lose to talents afterwards, but this wasn't the only mistake. Now he goes talents to take. Okay, now here, this was a total brain fart because you should always Mirror Jade. And not only that, if you Mirror Jade and he takes the Mirror Jade, then on resolution you have Quem. This is what I wanted to do. To activate the effect, I can summon Albaz, I can make another fusion. And here I can also make a Rindbrum, right? But again, complete brain fart, and I go, sure. There's no way, even without the Quem plan, that you don't activate the Mirror Jade here. Because if he takes the Mirror Jade, you just lost 2 cards, because you could have had another card in graveyard, and now it also could have made my Branded Retribution not live anymore. This was a huge misplay, because if he ended up taking the Mysterion, but if he took the Mirror Jade here, I'm screwed. Like, I lose my negate. Huge misplay right here. But he takes the Mysterion, and I'm like, okay, this is actually a little bit better, because he was obviously worried of the Mysterion effect, which really could hurt. And he goes normal summon Ash. Ash resolves here. There's nothing really that I could do. And then he goes Snake Eye Pop in hand, and I chain Mirror Jade. Now, the reason I chained Mirror Jade here specifically was to get rid of the Ash, so he could not activate the Ash effect to start summoning from the deck and gain a lot of advantage. Now, making him lose this level 1 means that the dragon is weaker. However, my board, I was kind of scared. Like, my thought process was, if he goes into an Apollousa early, he can kind of clear my board with like 4 negates, right? Or other lines that my board kind of loses to. I also prioritized having opening in the graveyard to protect myself. Unlosable game state, right? But I banished the Ash, which I think was a huge misplay. Like, at least banish the Garunix or something so he doesn't have it in circulation anymore. But in any way, it's incorrect. It's just incorrect because this will do nothing. He already has 3 bodies on board, which is a lot for Fire King, right? But I do banish it, and this is another misplay, sending the Rindbrum, and as I was sending it, I was also realizing this is not correct. I end up banishing the Ash, and here are 2 big misplays here. 1 illegal play and 1 misplay. Now, I needed to send the Albion here. Why did I need to send the Albion? Because now I wanted to send it and then activate Quem on resolution like we said in the beginning. What ended up happening is that Mysterion cannot be used as fusion material. It cannot be used as fusion material. That means with Rindbrum out of my deck, I can only make Titaniclad with this and not Rindbrum. So ideally what would have happened is that in this scenario, I take his Garunix, I make a Rindbrum, I still have a negate for anything from his extra deck, and I still have Retribution because I will have another Albion in the graveyard. But a series of unfortunate events. The Pop is summoned. He gets Chain 1 Pop, I believe. Yep, to grab the Sinful Spoils. So I discard the High Spirits. I use this. We still don't know that it cannot be used as fusion material, and I summon the Dragosipillia. Now he goes for the Sinful Spoils here. I negate it. I shuffle back the Rindbrum and the Albion, which also sucks because I had a Rindbrum in the I would have had a Rindbrum in the graveyard that can actually summon itself back if he gets rid of it, if I actually hard make with the Garunix, because it's a Winged Beast. I negate this, and then we catch on, so we reverse. We go back to the moment Albaz is summoned. Now here, I am screwed, because this is not the point in which I want to use Albaz Fusion, and also because the cost that I sent was still Rindbrum. So the only thing I can do is summon Titaniclad, and I also put it in defense, which is, you know, it's a pretty big Titaniclad. It's 3,700, I think. And now he can actually activate Mysterion, but he doesn't. So basically, I ran through all of my interruptions and ended up on nothing because I sent the wrong Albaz Fusion, I banished the wrong thing, and I fused with the wrong thing because I also didn't read the effect correctly here. So he activates this, I still negate. He has 2 cards in hand. And now he basically beats me with this because this Phoenix discarding the flame. I was playing around the Flamebird so much that I didn't realize it was going to be in hand. And he also goes over the Linkuriboh, which is also an excellent play. He has 1 card in hand, which is Ponix. But because Flamebird is here and I really don't have any interruptions, let's see what happens next. He pops my Branded Lost, and now he can go summon back 2. As this currently stands, no interruptions on my board. I had a Monster Negate, a Special Summon Negate, a Banish, a Fuse, and Mysterion, and I pretty much wasted all of them by doing them in the wrong order on the wrong things, except for the Sinful Spoil Snake Eye, which I wanted to negate with Retribution. It was correct to negate it with Retribution, but it was still bad. And now from here, basically, he just needs to get rid of my board. So what he does is goes Princess, bring back the Flamberg. Now he puts this in the Spell and Trap zone with Flamberg, right? So I cannot protect it, and it's not going to activate in case I have Nib in hand or something, right? So I don't clear up his board. And then he just goes for the OTK line here with Raging Phoenix into Zelantis. Now, what we didn't know at that time, or missed, I would have never not caught this, but Titaniclad is unaffected by Zelantis. You cannot flip it down, and you can also not banish it. However, it wouldn't actually have mattered based on what you would see going forward. So he banishes both of them, summons them back face down. The thing is, he could have still popped it with Princess, which is what I think he does. He pops the Quem, but he could have popped this, even though it's unaffected by monsters from the extra deck, because Princess is in the graveyard, right? It's not considered something from the extra deck. So it was still losable. And now he pops this in the battle phase. He pops my Titaniclad with Zelantis, which the Titaniclad shouldn't have been here. Technically, I let him play it incorrectly and win because I forgot the fact, we both forgot it, and it's both our fault. And we caught it, I saw it in chat after I finished the game. So he pops this, and it's basically game from there. This is basically what I wanted to show. I think that this video shows how you can easily get distracted and get in your own head, and you play around certain things that might not exist. But you need to be really understanding the matchup. And after this, it's very clear to me that the Mirror Jade was early, that you need to make sure you send the right cost, and you need to think, especially in Branded, and a lot of other decks, but especially in Branded, you need to be thinking a few steps ahead all the time, because sending that Rindbrum was a big misplay that, you know, just negating the Princess or negating the Nightmare Phoenix already does so much because it also bounces back. So yeah, I kind of costed, but hopefully you guys can learn from this. So if you're watching this on YouTube later, make sure to leave a comment below. What do you think about this matchup? And what do you think about that match that you saw? Shout out to Jib. Check him out on YouTube. I'm going to put the link in the description below, also on Twitch. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.